Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Geraci, longtime comic book industry vet, just celebrating his 30th year. I see I'm referring to myself in the third person, so officially I'm now a snob. Anyway, before that, many years before that, I was a comics fan. At this time, I'm going to jump right into this Haywire. This character design really grabs me. The character looks like a tank. I mean, like that little bit there where you could see how it's like it just has that strong metal forged design to it, and really great. I bought the first issue, and at the time my comics budget was pretty tight. I had just moved out of state, and I was just getting by on minimum wage, and but it led to better things down the road. So you're not here to listen to me bleat on about that kind of stuff, but I will tell you that I had a limited budget, and so that made my choices more important. I chose the first issue of Haywire because it has this great cover that I didn't want to show it because I'm not going to cover that issue. And it basically is on a stack of bodies, and if you see the book, these are really affordable. And it was good enough, intriguing enough, that it would have me come back for the second issue. Now that's a real testament to the creative team, Michael Fleischer, Vince Girano, and the great Kyle Baker. And it's suggested for mature readers because there's some sort of like sex type stuff going on. So just be warned. I'm going to try and skip some of that. The first issue really knocked me out. Nobody knows who Haywire is. It's not really his name. It's the name that was given to him by this black ops government, whatever you call it, operation that's not officially on the government payroll. They created Haywire, which was a man and machine sort of merging, like a cyborg type thing. It's better than that. Just take my word for it. And his name is not Haywire, but when he breaks free of his constraints of being just a product of that. Basically, they call him Haywire. They're like, he's gone haywire, so they just stuck with that name, and he really does go haywire. I gotta tell you, it's brutal. But what's interesting, Michael Fleischer, he's really, it's like a lot of writers sort of have a style that they're attracted to, and Michael Fleischer, he does really cool hard ass revenge stories from the protagonists, like Haywire, Jonah Hex, Ghost Rider, and the Spectre. The ones where the Spectre would turn somebody into a piece of wood and then saw him with a chainsaw. So it's always been interesting, and I was on a limited budget, so I came back for the second issue, which is saying a lot. And the whole series has like a Who is Haywire, because you have several characters that could be Haywire, but Fleischer gets you, he gets you all, he kind of, I don't want to say I don't want to say red herrings. It's just well done the way you think it might be this one character. That last panel there, love the layout, love the look of it. People might say, oh, silhouettes, blah blah blah. Well, what I liked is they're not evenly spaced. They are not evenly spaced. And then you have one figure here by my thumb, and then you have Haywire in the distance, and then you have three others. So it's better than just having Haywire in the middle of the panel. And so I'm going to show you some of that. I'm trying to ignore some of the sex stuff. For I don't want YouTube getting pissed at me. So I keep my low. Like that angle where that guy's shaving, that's so natural. That's so great, because stuff like that is the hardest to do. I mean, you could do superheroes flying at you. You could do, gymnastics and stuff. But to do just real simple things, and like this doesn't need to be 1,000 lines fading into black. Well, you have black there anyway. But and I like doing that kind of stuff. But sometimes more direct style works. And his head gets ripped off. That last panel is just amazing. It reminds me a little bit of Frank Miller's Ronin from 1983 or something like it. But however, they both probably found the source material in European comics. I don't think, he definitely wasn't ripping off Miller in this. It just, I think they saw the same stuff. This bad guy's really great. And I just love how Haywire's a tank. He's just like a big ass tank. I love that. I love everything about this book. Oh, and at the time, here's some of the other offerings coming out. Suicide Squad. I just recently bought all the entire series from the late 80s by John Ostrander, Kim Yale, and Luke McDonald, and others later on, Jeff Isherwood. And it's really fun. I got all the trades, goes all the way up to the last issue. The Shadow started off with Howard Chaykin, and then it went on to Cal Baker, who was just as I said, he was one of those guys who just started off. You could sort of tell he was going places just because his stuff was so different. Now we got the Thor issue that Walt Simonson did not do in his huge run, and it's not in the Walt Simonson omnibus or even the trade paperbacks, because it really is, I hate to say fill-in issue. It's a great fill-in issue, but the way it's written, it's a one-off where you don't have this issue. It's not going to screw up, the omnibus at all. There's no need for a paragraph or anything. But it starts off with Bob Harris, writer, which is interesting because I've never really been a huge fan of his, but I know a lot of people love his Avengers era with the what is it called? The Coming, or no, I can't think of what it's called. But hey, more power to him. Jackson Geis, aka Butch Geis, and Bob Layton with John Workman, and got a great team here for this fill-in issue. Hercules enjoying Central Park with Jarvis. He's the women just hang all over him like a hero on the beach, kind of like that old ad that was in comics way back when. This one kid's a big Thor fan. He's like, "Hey, wimp! Oh, he's into Thor. He ain't that great." Blah, blah. And they're just being really nasty to him. And then they came across Hercules, and they say, "Hey, Herc, my buddy wants to ask you something." And Bob Layton had done 2 previous miniseries, so he kind of established that Hercules was kind of a himbo. He even has muscles between his ears. A young boy apparently awestruck by presence of mighty Hercules. "Tut, tut, lad. Come, you have a question for the Lion of Olympus? Speak." Who's stronger, Mr. Hercules, sir, you or Thor?" He goes, "Excuse me, lad, while I regain my composure. Surely you know that I am called the Prince of Power. I did not come by that name easily." Talks about the 7 layers of 7 labors of Zeus from mythology. And so he's hanging around. This is now according to Hercules in his story. He's talking to Thor at the Avengers Mansion, and basically Thor is kissing his ass. He goes, "Once more, if perhaps I beat you this one time, then truly my life will have meaning once more. Oh, Master Thor, why must you always embarrass yourself? Beat Master Hercules? Oh, that is rich." So, and Jarvis is sort of whispering, like, "I don't recall any of this." And he's like, "Shut up, man. I'm trying to look cool." So he wins. Thor gets jealous and bops his hammer onto Hercules. "Thor, that was made me mad." Whimper. This is so much fun. Love it, love it, love it. This is shortly between I can really talk this morning. You know what's funny? I did have a peanut butter sandwich this morning, so that's probably why I'm so much. So it goes on and on. And anyway, this is like just maybe a couple months prior to the first issue of X Factor that Geis and Layton work on, which had the original X-Men team. So he's telling more and more of these stories, and the Thor fan, the kid, is really getting upset. And finally, he whispers to the big goofball, the out-of-focus goofball. Okay. May I have a word with you? My ear is thine. And now he's all concerned. And then suddenly, enough. The son of Odin will not feign weakness no longer. He will feign weakness no longer. Bleh. Give me more peanut butter so I can mumble. I'll face the wrath of Thor. That's beautiful. Beautiful. And so he basically talked about how Thor shamed him. You beat Thor 1, he beat you? Of course, would I lie? Oh, nuts. And one kid's giving him his Thor comic back, and Hercules comes up to that bully, and I cannot abide a bully if you can understand my meaning. Okay, we're out of here. And they hang out. So, really, really good story. I really enjoyed it. Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld. You wouldn't think a superhero geek like me would really be interested in this far-off fantasy stuff. I've never really been a huge fantasy fan, and just because there's so much of it, and a lot of it is garbage, and there is good stuff, but I don't know. It's like the genre has been flooded, and same thing with superhero comics too. I'll even say that, there's a lot of shitty superhero comics out there. That's why a lot of indie books nowadays are doing so well, because they're offering something fresh. You can still do classic characters in a new spin, but it's just that it's good that the indie books are also kind of making the big two, DC and Marvel, take notice and maybe be influenced. Look at that amazing cover, laid out by Ed Hannigan and pencil and inked by Ernie Colon. I knew I was going to screw that up, or Colon. I love the. What's great is it looks like nothing else on the stands, and it's basically a fairy tale. It's a teenage girl who was adopted, and she didn't know her birth parents, so she finds out they were from this fantasy world. And I only knew Ernie Colon as the artist on Richie Rich. He drew the Richie Rich comics, which was huge. At one time, Richie Rich had like a dozen or 24 titles, and he was one of the mainstays. And that hair is so exquisite. And the faces, everything seems to work. He's totally... one second. He's just his own person. There we go. And that's one of Amethyst's allies. A tiger. Look at that. So brilliant. I was like, oh, Amy, honey, you'll be late for school. Time to get up. Wow. Really amazing stuff. It's worth it. It really needs to be a hardcover collection of this series. The thing is, they did back when in the 2000s, when they did a lot of those black and white phone books that they called essentials for Marvel and showcase for DC. They have like 500 pages in black and white, and it turns out that that they did one of the Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, in black and white. I mean, look at the colors, and also it's based on a lot of color in there. I mean, that's like the theme of some of the characters. That's a great bad guy. He is so great. This guy's trying to be a fresh ass, and the dog attacks him. Now, again, look at that stance. And, so they have characters called Topaz and Opal. And Lord Opal was the bad guy, I seem to recall now. Really, look at that. Wow. So this really needs a... This ran about... Well, it was a 12-issue miniseries, and then maxi series, excuse me. And it turned out that it was successful enough that it did an ongoing. And I don't remember how many issues that was. And also 2 specials or annuals. So it's a nice amount of work that could really make for a beautiful hardcover. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know the deal. Oh, by the way, go back to Amethyst. Just in the DC universe, she became grim and gritty. One of the last books I did for DC was called Future's End, And they had most of the ongoing characters in this miniseries, weekly series, was they had Amethyst, except she's now grim and gritty. Half her hair is shaved off. She has a scar over one eye and all that stuff. So I'm like, wow, that is so edgy. Wow. It's like, why can't you have one character that's really, strong on her own without having to go through hell and back? I know that's a test of a good character, but it just, when I was thinking it, I'm like, this is so dumb. This isn't, and in my mind, I'm like, this isn't Amethyst. This is just like in my mind, I was like, it's like a clone of Amethyst as far as I'm concerned. So, really dumb. That's the bane of my existence. I hate that thing. Well, Frank Miller doing a cover. He did quite a few around this time, or on the regular Hulk series. And how about that? Scratching with the razor blade to get those lines. So much fun. And it's Sal Buscema kind of keeping up that feel. It's colored by Bob Sharon, who I really love. His stuff on Hulk. It's funny, on Hulk and on Rom Space Knight, you had the same team for years. You had Bill Manilow, you had Sal Buscema, you had Bob Sharon, and they worked so well together for years and years and years. And this is kind of similar to what I showed you a few episodes ago, where David Mazzucchelli did a sepia tone flashback with the Two Gun Kid. It's just great. I love seeing Sal stretching himself. And he does so even more, like around issue 300, where he does full pencils instead of breakdowns. And it looks super cool. Well, what they do is they come around this present, they kind of go back to the cave in New Mexico where the Gamma machine was, and instead of the Hulk changing on his own somewhere else by getting tired or whatever, they go back to the old days where he could stand in front of the Gamma machine and change into the Hulk or change back into Bruce Banner. So this is so, I mean, it makes sense. I'm not saying it's Bill's problem. It's just Bill makes Rick Jones really weird, and I think that's kind of in a really cool way. It's like Rick Jones in this era, the only value he feels inside of himself is being the Hulk's best friend. So it's Bruce's decision to make Rick. Yeah, but don't forget. But don't forget that despite what I owe Dr. Banner for saving my neck years ago, Rick Jones is a Hulk's pal too. I don't see my favorite buddy, physicist hurt. I've never heard you express such concern for the Hulk, Rich. You may be his only mourner when I finally destroy him. Doc, it worked. And Rick's just a kook. I mean, years later we learned that Bruce Banner had multiple personalities because of his abuse as a child. But this is well before that, and it's just Rick, I think he'd rather have someone big and muscular and stupid to hang around with than a boring old scientist, because it's just so goofy. And unless a cure for my condition or some other means of ending the menace of the Hulk is found. Still, Doc, Betty and me have gotten the Hulk to stay calm. He's begun to understand dimly that you and he are one. If only the Hulk's power could be brought under control. Rick, what are you saying? What if instead of destroying the Hulk for all time, the Doc instead brought the change and the Hulk under his control of his own brilliant mind? It just gets ridiculous because he's like, oh man, my green buddy. It doesn't seem fair to the Hulk. What? I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but Rick Jones has always been kind of he's weird. I mean, he's always been kind of a groupie, going from Captain America and all this stuff, Captain Marvel. So it's just silly. He's just like, I don't want to lose the Hulk, my pal. No matter how much it makes you suffer, Dr. Banner. Very nice, very nice. So I'm not going to spoil it, even though I spoiled other stuff here, but This is a one-shot that came out in 96. I think it was right about the time that Marvel went bankrupt. And because I think logo reminds me of it. And a lot of people don't even know about this. In fact, I didn't find it in the wild. I just knew about it after the fact. That's at a comic shop. Stan Lee, John Romita. So you got Spider-Man working on it, and Tom DeFalco and Dan Green. Tom DeFalco does the scripts, and DeFalco came up with the plot, and Dan Green is inking, Stan is scripting, and John Romita is doing the pencils. So, bring it on, baby. It's after all those years, it's so great to see Romita Sr. do a whole issue. And you know what I like too? This has a matte finish. It's not glossy, so I don't have to go like, keep the shine from getting all over the screen, so you get a better view of the artwork. Wow. Yeah, I recommend any of these books. Of course I recommend them. I'm covering them. There's the Kingpin, who was designed by John Romita Sr. So much good stuff going on, but I really recommend it. And you get some of that, bring on that good old flavor of his history. And you got Daredevil, and I love that Daredevil's in it because that's where John Romita Jr. I keep saying Jr. John Romita Sr. started when he was doing Marvel superheroes, and then he went over to Spider-Man, or was moved over to Spider-Man. Long story. That's just beautiful stuff. So anyway, that's all. That's the latest books from my spinner rack. And you have a great day, everybody.